Greetings my listy chaps and chapasses, I'm the Globerwood Critic. As some of you know, in February we had Valentine's Day, so for this particular comparison I've chosen a well-known British film that led to one of its rising stars at the time become a household name. I'm of course referring to the 1999 romantic comedy Notting Hill and its counterpart Humko Deewana Kar Gaye. Now you're probably wondering, couldn't these two films be any more similar? Plus most of you must be thinking, nothing can top Notting Hill, even if filmmakers were to attempt a remake. Now honestly, I couldn't agree more, for there are some pros and cons in Humko Deewana Kar Gaye that lets it down from the original. But we're here to do a comparison between these two films, so without further ado, here is Notting Hill versus Humko Deewana Kar Gaye. So let's cut to the chase and begin off with Best Partnership, Hugh Grant and Julia Roberts versus Akshay Kumar and Katrina Kaif. Now if you've seen both these two films, you're probably wondering, couldn't the four main characters be any more different? Well, let's have a look at the main leads in Notting Hill. In Notting Hill, we are introduced to an opening montage of Anna Scott, played by Roberts. From here we assume her character is a well-known celebrity. Once the montage ends, we are introduced to William Thacker, played by Grant, who is shown as a travel book salesman and seems to be leading quite a happy and content lifestyle despite being divorced. It is only until both characters have chance encounters with one another that their lives slowly begin to change in the movie. In Humko Deewana Kar Gaye, instead we have an opening montage of what could have been a carbon copy of the opening segment of Love Actually. And after that pointless introduction, we are introduced to the main lead, Aditya Malhotra, played by Kumar. We see Jia Yashvardhan, played by Kaif, introduced about 15 minutes later in the film. These two also meet by chance on various occasions, but through their meetings, there's a difference of opinion such as coincidence or destiny. Now the only thing that I'll say that makes these characters similar to one another is their social class. The boys are shown as middle class and the girls are shown as upper class, but there are some differences. Kumar's role compared to Grant's adds a small amount of glamour into his lifestyle, as he's shown to instead be a sports car salesman. Kaif's role, on the other hand, is shown as an heiress of a family business empire, but unlike Roberts, little about her roots is shown. But how do their encounters fit in with the movie's core story, and what's different between these two characters? Well, I can tell you that the main difference between these two characters is their struggles and trials they go through. The pain and suffering Grant's role shows that he's finding it hard to adjust back to his lifestyle, having not seen Roberts throughout this 6 months time span, while at the same time cannot bear the fact of being separated from her on more than one occasion. Kumar's role initially has a much stronger struggle as he begins to question in the movie, should he break off his own engagement for the sake of being with the one woman he loves, or vice versa. Also, after what supposedly could have been his last encounter with Kaif, he begins to question if love, or a word called destiny, even exists, after being angrily accused of breaking Kaif's trust. Well, that's the men, but what about the women? Now, if I'm going to be frank, Robert's pain and suffering shown in Notting Hill is considered the best. From the surprise kiss that she gives Grant during her second meeting with him, becomes the mystery about her. And as you get through the film, you see the great extent as to how she wishes she could balance her glamorous lifestyle in order to lead a simple life with Grant. Kaif's struggle, on the other hand, is shown about 30 minutes towards the end of the film. What she thought was an act of betrayal on Kumar's part, and the deep regret of the mistake she's made, marrying her fiancé, only after realising the truth behind the small scandal that took place, which didn't involve Kumar. As much as this was a difficult comparison, my vote goes to both Grant and Roberts, as the entire film showcases on equal terms both characters' pain and struggle they endure. Point goes to the West. Now comes the more complex of the comparisons, it's the supporting cast. Okay, I'm going to go out and say it. The supporting cast in Notting Hill is considered the best, as each of their roles adds more of an insight into the lifestyles both our main characters live in. With Roberts, you encounter various different unmentioned celebs her character has worked with, along with various different reporters and critics who express both their positives and negatives about her.
Hi.
And of course there are the Londoners, full of working class and middle class that live in the same society Grant's character lives in, and not forgetting the cast that play his family. The supporting cast in Humko Deewana Kar Gaye, I'm afraid to say, gets it 100% wrong. The main cast have families who are portrayed unappealing, and in the scenes filmed in Canada, the locals all talk with bloody British accents.
Take the luggage and take him also.
Right, come on.
But along with the cons, there are the pros, and one of the pros in particular is the extra screen time given to the respected fiancés of our main cast. This was probably one of the only things the film got right. The fiancés, Sonia Berry, played by Bipasha Basu, and Karan Oberoi, played by Slumdog Millionaire's Anil Kapoor, are represented as the main cast's exact opposites, both strong career-minded individuals who live by their own codes and morals. Okay, I'm going to be frank again. When I did my research on this film before its early release, my jaw dropped when I read one of my childhood favourite actresses was making her return in this film in a supporting role. I'm of course referring to one of the gems of the early 1990s, Bagashiri. And surprisingly, her role as Gumar's older sister Simran actually made Gumar's Canadian family look more appealing to watch, as opposed to the ones Gumar left behind. I mean, okay, she was given more screen time, but it works, as she's shown to be both kind and loving towards her younger brother during his time of need. But the big decider for me is the flatmates. As much as I think Vivek Shroud did an okay job playing flatmate Nawab Sharif in Humko Deewana Kar Gaye, while adding his own blend of comedy and drama, my vote is still going to the cast of Notting Hill, because of this funny man.
Thank you, God.
That's right, Spike, played by Rhys Ifans. His role as the bumbling, idiotic and eccentric Welsh roommate brings out all the laughs with his aloof ways, which keeps the entire film completely light-hearted. Point goes to the West. Now it all comes down to the most important factor, it's the story. Now if loads of you Dissy peeps out there have seen so many old Bollywood movies, you'll probably be able to identify with the one cliche that is often used, which on some occasion works. Boy meets girl, both brought up from different societies, one's rich whereas the other one's poor or middle class, both fall in love, family don't approve, then a mishap occurs which splits the lovers apart, only to reunite till the end when one realises his or her mistake or understood the truth. Now how does this cliche fit in with the two films? Well, let's have a look at the stories. In both stories, both our male leads, Grant and Gumar, have chance encounters with both our female leads, Roberts and Kath. Some within the same circumstances, while some different. Within the same circumstances, both Roberts and Kath wish to experience true love as well as lead a quiet life away from their extravagant lifestyles. Grant and Gumar also wish to experience excitement outside their supposed middle-class lives. And as destiny would have it, these characters would continuously meet. The differences as explained earlier, their occupations are different. Gumar and Kath have fiancés of the same status as themselves, but more career-driven, and the moral of the films is different. Now what many people seem to have a problem with the remake is that one cliche, like audiences have seen it time and time again, even if Bollywood were interested in bringing new talent to work with the current stars, who have done similar films. It's no wonder the film flopped at the box office, and got so many mixed reviews and many audiences found the story to be relatively boring. But I guess there were the positives of having Gumar and Kath work together for the first time, and of course the musical numbers and compilations done by Himesh Reshammiya, which most of the younger generation enjoyed. The same could be said about the overused cliche used in Notting Hill, but as discussed, there are more positives which make this film even better. For example, the pairing between megastar Julia Roberts and then rising star Hugh Grant. The one scene that immediately thrusts the audience into watching more is the surprise kiss, that Roberts plants on Grant. That particular scene sets both the mystery between the two characters and the film's core moral. Hey, it even says it on the main cover of the DVD. Can the most famous film star in the world fall for the man on the street? Humko Deewana Kar Gaye doesn't reveal or explore the mysteries between Akshay Kumar and Katrina Kaif in that kind of fashion. It is the more conventional boy meets girl scenario that is used so often in old Bollywood movies. Plus the moral written on the cover is love connects. One word: lame! Well, let's look at the endings. In Notting Hill, it's Grant who realises his mistake of letting Roberts go, that he rushes to the press conference to persuade her to stay, which evidently she does, given the film's core moral closure and audience satisfaction, while giving a more simplistic tone. In Humko Deewana Kar Gaye, it's Kaif who realises her mistake of leaving Kumar and marrying Anil Kapoor, and knowing it's too late, she instead attempts to kill herself by staging an accident, only to have Kumar save her, the press clicking photos of the stunt, and Kapoor standing and watching in disgust of what he's seen. After that pointless overdramatic scene, instead we get a more emotional approach, where Kapoor breaks off his marriage to Kaif and allowing her to finally reunite with Kumar, while at the same time Bipasha Basu breaks off her engagement too. The status quo, on the other hand, changes when it's both Basu and Kapoor who learn an invaluable lesson, whereas in the original, it focuses on Grant's realisation of his mistake that allows the status quo change to come from Roberts, which in my opinion makes this a much better ending.
Right. Dominic, if you'd like to ask your question again.
Yeah? Anna, how long are you intending to stay here in Britain?
Indefinitely.
So in terms of story, setting, and better choice of actor, actress, and supporting cast, in spite of some of the pros discussed in Humko Deewana Kar Gaye, I'm going to say hands down, Notting Hill is the superior film. So there you have it. Another point being awarded to Hollywood in this round, even though no minor points were given to Bollywood in this comparison. I'm the Globerwood Critic. Until next time, Aaj ke liye alvida, mere desi logo.